this is a point that I think this is more core to me, which sets me apart from other people, especially on the left, is I am a strict anti-degrowther. I believe that we actually live in a world of poverty and that humanity needs to massively develop, not undevelop. And it's about building systems that are sustainable and ecologically aware rather than and away from an extractive way. But we need to expand human flourishing. We need to expand human, quality of life. And the problem with the green movement, especially in Europe and America, is that it's an austerity movement. It's an appendage of neoliberalism. It's the idea that humanity needs to get smaller and dimmer and colder and less numerous. And that kind of like anti-human orientation is fundamentally, this anti-natalist, anti-human orientation is fundamentally gross. Normal people don't like it. It's weird when you say you're not going to have kids because of climate change. I'm sorry. Everyone's going to be pissed at me. But
no, I totally agree with you.
Fucking evil.
That's an idea that needs to die on the left. But like, I will say in defense of some of the degrowthers, because there is a split in the movement. Like there is a socialist radical wing, which is not anti-natalist and which, more or less what they argue is like that we need less plastics and we kind of need less mass consumption, but we need higher standard of living in terms of like services and freedoms and all that. Like,
I'll give you an example of what I mean.
It would be like what I'll agree with you on is even those people who have the good vision of degrowth that I would prefer, as opposed to the more dominant kind of green austerity neoliberal, which is getting co-opted by neoliberalism very quickly because it's already compatible.
Look at the Green Party in Germany.
Yeah, Green Party everywhere, man. The Green Party everywhere sucks. Like Green Party here in Canada, ass. Although Green Party in America is actually is a little better.
It sucks. It's a grifter party. It fucking blows. You don't even have to defend it. It's fine.
Kind of all over the place. Yeah, they're kind of like a protester party at that point. But my point about degrowth though is that even for the version of it, which I would be more sympathetic to, the word itself is horrible as a signifier. I mean, like degrowth, everyone who is not doesn't come from a fucking university PMC background, like bubble, they hear the word degrowth and they're like, what, like you want to
recession?
They hear that and they're like, you want me to have less stuff? And they're like, oh, but this is a white settlers. And it's like, shut up. Like no one likes this idea. Like especially people in the third world won't like this idea.
Of course. Well, I mean, that's the thing that's evil about it. But yeah, okay. If you're saying degrowth, Mike, instead of people buying bottled water, I want every single faucet to have sparkling, clean water that is fresher than anything you could get from Fiji Water Company. Yeah, I agree with you. And yes, that would result in less bottles being consumed and less energy being consumed and wasting money on shipping, plastic bottles across the ocean for consumerist, conspicuous consumption. You're right. I agree with you on that. But when you're talking about like, I don't know that we could build these solar panels because they have an energy investment and it's going to require some mining somewhere. And it's like, if we transition to a renewable energy economy, we'd add 400 times less mining. I think 400 times less mining, because the vast majority of mining is coal and oil and gas being dug out of the ground to be burned and used forever. Whereas if you dig lithium out of the ground for a battery, lithium doesn't get consumed when a battery goes bad. It just requires chemical reprocessing. Like we can live in a world of abundance that is more ecological and where everybody has a higher standard of living, right? We might be like, if you were all, if we densify, if we, have public transit and high-speed rail and we change the way that we develop in a way that is more ecologically aware, but at the same time focused on raising the standard of living of everyday people, of all people, that's a movement I could get behind. But if your idea is, you only get to have one light on in your house or whatever the fuck else, or your thermostat has to be set at 82 degrees, well, then you are rightfully going to be rejected by anyone who's sane. Okay? That is not a world that is ever going to win a democratic election. And it's not even a world I want to live in. I want to be able to turn on the lights when I want. And if you disagree with me on that, then you're just fundamentally a fringe movement and you're opposed to human flourishing. And I don't mind having these positions because these are the positions we need to hammer out now. We need to know what kind of left we're building And I am not somebody who is like, oh yeah, I'm going to bring in these these groups that alienate everybody who is, I hate to use the word, but a normie, because they have some sort of deep, as you say, university centered, CIA approved pseudo leftist take.
Yeah, well, this is precisely why my podcast has been so left critical these days, like criticizing these tendencies, because I think we need to actually like hammer out these discussions in order to actually build a left that can win. Because if you just say, oh no, left unity can't have these disagreements, and it's like, okay, well, what if the left that emerges kind of blows and blows it again?
Has no idea who Mike is.
Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But you may want to start changing your ways. Change new ways. We're changing your